That Grows Your Business show. Today, I'm going to be sharing something that I think a lot of people don't know, and that is how to leverage the power of Facebook groups to find your ideal person and ultimately create a relationship that you can sell into. So, if you are in Facebook groups or if you have a Facebook group, I'm going to be sharing 5 strategies today. 5 very simple things that you can do in 15 minutes or less that can help you find your buyer. Okay. So as you're coming in, give me a shout out. Where in the world are you? And as always, I like to be transparent with you guys. So I pre recorded this training because I am actually on a plane to Las Vegas as we speak, or as you're listening, one of the two. So this isn't live, but I have Rhonda in the comments. So ask your questions. She's absolutely going to be here to answer any questions. And I'll always follow up later if there's something for some unknown reason that she can't answer, which I'm positive that she can. So don't hesitate to ask any questions you have. Also, as you're coming in, just give me a shout out. Where in the world are you? So I've been super jealous. For those of you who don't know Rhonda, she's on my team. She's my right hand. She's amazing. And she is currently in Virginia, and they have gotten all this snow. And, I'm in Florida and no snow. Now, normally, that would be good because you're thinking, well, it's nice and warm in Florida, right? It is, but occasionally, it'd be kind of nice to have the snow too, right? If I could just have it for a while, it's still nice and clean, and before any tire tracks get in it and it gets all nasty and, gravelly. But unfortunately, I don't get that. So I guess, it is what it is. Okay, so a couple of things. Like all shows, we do giveaways. And we're going to be doing a couple of giveaways. We have something that is for everyone. So absolutely everybody is going to have access to a workbook that I put together for this training. Now, the reason you are going to want this workbook is because, one, it highlights all of these individual strategies, gives examples, which I'm going to show you today. So that's nothing you aren't going to get if you don't download this. But what you are going to get if you decide you want it and you say, I'm going to go grab this, is you're going to get scripts, what I call follow-up scripts. So I'm going to tell you what to do, what the strategy is. And then in the workbook, you actually could get a copy and paste kind of starter. Now, I don't recommend that you use this exactly word for word, the scripts, because ultimately you're going to want to inject your own vibe, your own verbiage, but it gives you a starting off point. So kind of what it is that you're supposed to be, how you outreach essentially. And they're very short, a couple of sentences. It's not ridiculous. So you're going to want these. Trust me, you're going to want them. And yeah, let me just pull this up real quick. I'll show you because, like I said, everybody wins today. Everybody is going to get the 0 to a sale in 15 minutes or less using FB groups. It's a workbook. It is amazing. You're going to love it. I definitely recommend that you go grab it. You can grab it at kimgarst.com/0 to sell. We'll also drop that into the comments area so that all you have to do is click on it. If you're listening and you're on your phone or whatever, all you have to do again is go there, download it, and you will be in business. Feel free to do that even before. Some of you might have actually already grabbed it, and you'll be able to follow along as we go throughout the course of the training. But I think that's going to be super value based to you. So that's a freebie that absolutely everybody gets. And then we're going to do our standard giveaway, which is, since we're doing Facebook again, we're going to do the Stalker mug one more time. So that is, we made a funny about it last week. There's nobody that stalks better than a mama. We're not really stalkers, right? But we like to keep our eye on what's happening with our babies. So even though they're not babies anymore, but in my case anyway, they're not babies. That doesn't mean I don't still stalk them. Sounds so harsh. But anyway, we're going to be giving away that mug. One mug. Or 2 mugs, 2 mugs, and the workbook everybody gets. So definitely grab that. Now, how do you get to win. Let's talk about that real quick. It's sharing your aha moments. There, I always get my fingers messed up. I never can seem to get them right. An aha moment is like, wow, I didn't know that, or it sometimes can be, I knew that, but I didn't know it exactly like that. Or sometimes you know it and you just need to rehear it. So share those aha moments with hashtag aha in the area down under, and we enter you into the winner's wheel. And at the end of today's show, we'll announce those so that you know who won, and we'll get the winners that win the mugs. We'll get those mugs out to you ASAP. So that's how you win. Don't forget to share those though, because that, again, if you sprinkle this out into the world, we enter you into the wheel more times. So if you know somebody that like has an FB group but isn't getting a lot of traction with it, and you want to tag them or sprinkle it out into your communities, feel free to pass this on, because I think this is going to be super value based for so many people. Okay. Let's see if I've thought of anything else. Oh, one last thing. I want to make sure that I invite anybody that is a coach, a consultant, a service provider, a course creator, anybody that has a knowledge base that they want to monetize, then go join our brand new FB group. It's a Facebook group. It's called Experts Unleashed. So again, it's all about I hate the term expert, because there's experts on every corner, but the reality is that every one of us have some sort of an expertise. It might be at different levels, but at the end of the day, we are a couple of steps ahead of somebody who needs us. And so I invite you to join the group, and we're going to be doing a lot of things in there. I want to apologize to my Facebook group real quick, because last week, I think it was, I teased them with a training that I'm getting ready to share with you guys. And then I got this hellacious cold or COVID, I'm not sure which. And so I've been a little under the weather, and my voice has not been super awesome for a couple of weeks. So I've been babying it a little bit. But we've got big plans for this group. So head on over there, and lots of good stuff coming, lots of good knowledge and skills and training that we're going to be doing in there. So if you have knowledge or an expertise that you want to figure out how to monetize, then join us. Okay. So that was, I think that's the last thing I needed to share before we get into the training. Okay. So let me share my screen real quick. And again, the topic is 0 to a sale in 15 minutes or less a day. And the focus of this is, again, sharing the strategies with you and making sure that if you want the workbook where all the scripts that you're going to need for follow-up are already there for you, no guessing, you can grab that at kimgross.com/0 to sell. And I'll remind you of that several times in case you're like, okay, what did she say again? Okay. So let's talk about the first strategy I have for you. I'm going to talk about this in the context of the 3 tips. Well, let me back up for a second. I said I want to share this in the context of Facebook groups across the board. Facebook groups can be your Facebook group, or they can be someone else's Facebook group. One of the neat things about Facebook groups is that you can actually jump into a Facebook group, whether again it's yours or it's not, and find what do I call, let's see, I guess the best way of saying it would be an accumulation of your ideal client or your ideal customer. In some cases, there are people who have already built a community of your ideal customer or your ideal buyer, essentially. And all you have to do is get active in that group and have an opportunity to start forming relationships within that group. And then there's the other scenario where you own the Facebook group, meaning you started a Facebook group and you've built a community, or you're trying to build a community of people that are your person, the people that you want to serve. Now, there's an amazing value to having that community, especially on Facebook, because our pages these days are almost worthless to the average person. The average person is struggling today to get reach, aka organic or free reach. I've been around on Facebook for so long that I'm still able to get Facebook to give me free reach. It's nowhere near what it used to be. Trust me, it's nowhere near what it used to be. And some days I feel like I'm just like swimming upstream all the time. But for the average person that's just getting started or that never had a lot of engagement to begin with, they're creating content for their Facebook pages and it's like crickets out there. Like, can anybody like say, amen, sister? Like, that is exactly where I am. So if that's where you are, then Facebook groups are so powerful because it allows you to congregate a group of people together that are your ideal person. And better than that, this is what's so fabulous about it is if you develop some core strategies to get your people seeing your content consistently in their feeds, then you stand a way better chance of getting your people inside of your Facebook group to actually see your content compared to your Facebook page, which is almost non-existent. So Facebook groups are super powerful and they give you an edge, whether again, if it's just looking at it through the lens of you have your own Facebook group, it gives you an edge over your Facebook page. It also, again, gives you an opportunity to step into other people's communities and find your person and build relationships with those people, which is what I want to, that's where we're headed. I wanted to say all that before I started sharing the strategies with you, because I want you to understand the value proposition that a Facebook group can bring to you, because it's super powerful. Okay. All right. Hang on. I always hit the wrong button here. Okay, so the first strategy I have for you is what I call the 3 tips. Now, this is a great way for you to establish not only your expertise, but to show up in a value-based way in a group that either you own or someone else owns. Now, how do you go about doing this? Now, this is the part that I think is important for you to understand. You can enter a Facebook group, whether it's yours or someone else's. And when I say someone else's, I want you to make sure that that group is filled with people that could be your ideal customer. If you are selling, bike seats, for example, you might want to find a group that serves bike lovers or, cyclists, right? You want to make sure your person's in the group. You don't want to just choose some random group and pop in there and start engaging, right? That makes no sense. So make sure that the group is something is in alignment with where you're going to find your person. If it's someone else's group, I want you to really focus on this. Now, do not get all excited about this strategy and then say, I'm going to go do this right now, because it's going to come across very self-serving, not only to the people that are already active and engaging in the group, but to the admins of the group. And you stand a chance of actually getting kicked out of the group if you don't do this well. I suggest that you get active in a group that you have. If it's not yours, get active in that group, start engaging in there, answering questions, commenting on other people's stuff for at least a week and maybe even more. Now, I know I said 15 minutes or less, right? But you still need to do the prep work if it's someone else's community. So bring value, show up with a servant-based heart. And once you start doing that, people are going to see you more frequently. And then when you start to share value, you're going to be well received in that group, not only from the other members, but also from the admin as well, because they're going to be like, oh, this person is bringing it. Thank you. But at the end of the day, you're again showing up with value and with an end goal. Okay. So you want to create what I call the 3 tips post. So let me give you an example of that. You might post something that says something like, who here is using Facebook groups? And again, insert your thing, right? I just got off a strategy call with a client and I shared 3 quick tips with her to help her get more clients, and thought this might help others as well. So here they are. And I lay out the 3 tips, whatever the 3 tips are. Of course, in your situation, you're going to need to present this in whatever light your expertise would best be reflected, right? So your thing could be something totally different, but you could use the elements of this post to absolutely lay it out exactly the same way. But the thing that I want you to notice here is right after all the 3 tips have been, shared, the question that you have to ask, and this is important, don't leave this part out, is which tip are you going to try first? And the reason that you're asking this open-ended question that's related exactly to the content is because you're trying to get people to engage with you, with the post. And not only that, it's bigger than just engaging with the post. It's also getting them to commit to sharing something or taking action on something that is built around your area of expertise. Which means if they buy into the fact that your tips are solid, then your expertise is established. Does that make sense? So this is very important that you don't leave out that which tip are you going to try first, okay? So that's 2 steps. Find your group and post your first thing, okay? And again, if you own the group, this is an easy peasy thing. Very easy to get started with this strategy. Now, this is the part that is the next piece. When people engage with your post, you're going to want to follow up with them. Now, I have, like I shared with you before, I have follow-up scripts in the workbook. So please, please, please go download the workbook. It's Zero to Sell in 15 minutes or less a day. I break all of these strategies that I'm sharing with you down, but you also get the scripts, the follow-up scripts, which is the most valuable thing about today's training. So don't hesitate to go grab that. It's kimgarst.com/zero to sale. Because I want to make sure that you have exactly what you need to implement and take action on these strategies that I'm giving you. Okay, so the next strategy I have for you, number 2, is what I'm calling the curious commitment. Now, you'll notice that I'm using a lot of alliterations when I name these little strategies. But the curious commitment is basically where you are trying to create a post that gets your person to be curious enough to commit to commenting to learn more. In other words, you're trying to get them to be curious enough to know what's behind the door. So step 1 is, again, the same thing. Find a group, whether it's yours or someone else's, where your person is hanging out. And again, if it's someone else's group, spend the time, do the work before you start, ask them random questions inside of the group that they'll be like, oh, this person's just joined my group and they're, trying to use my group to harvest clients, which is technically what you're trying to do, but you want to do it in a servant-based way, okay? So it's super important that if it's someone else's group, you do it responsibly and ethically, okay? As ethically as you can. It's bigger than all things that you do in your business is bigger than you. It's really not about us at all. It's always about the person that we're there to serve and the person that we're there to attract to our expertise or our service or, whatever it is that we're ultimately selling. But here's an example of one that I posted in my group, which was, would you like to know how to go from zero to a sale in 15 minutes or less each and every day? Drop in a yes if you do. Okay. So obviously I was seeding this particular training that I'm doing right now in my Facebook group. Now, this is the part that I want you to understand. One, you're trying to get them to commit by, engaging with the post, putting in a yes, or you can put whatever you want. You can word it however you want. The point is you're wanting to get them to physically comment in the below the post so that you can see who's interested in whatever it is. It's a curiosity thing that you're trying to build here. And there's value in this because when people start to engage with the post, then it's a trigger to Facebook that says, oh, look, this group is getting engagement. And when that happens, if it's your group, for example, then that content is now going to show up in the feed of your of the members of that group more frequently. It's going to be shown more frequently because Facebook is seeing that signal, that engagement signal that's coming from that Facebook group. So it's super, super powerful from that perspective. But more importantly, you're really trying to get as many people as possible to say yes, or, whatever you're directing them to do. The key is you want to give them some direction. You want to make sure that you're telling them to do something specific. In my case, I'm saying, drop in a yes if this is something you want. So it's a curiosity piece, but it is designed to get people to comment so that you can see who's interested. And obviously, the next step is following up. You'll see a pattern here, right? The sale is always in the follow up, the relationship, honestly, because it starts. I will back up for a second. It's not really the sale initially, it's really about starting to open the door to a conversation that will lead to a relationship, that will lead to a sale. And in some cases, the last strategy I have to share with you, it could lead to a sale literally in a very short window of time. So hang in there for that one. That's my favorite strategy, the one I'm sharing with you at the end. Again, don't hesitate to download that workbook because I have, yes, again, scripts for this particular strategy as well. Okay, so the pool party. I didn't say pool party, although I really wanted to call this the pool party, but I was like, yeah, that's not going to work because it's not a pool, it's a pole. So the pole party is exactly what you would think it would be. It's creating a poll inside of a group around something specific that you are wanting to share, or in some cases, I think a lot of times people use polls to get a feel for what their group wants, right? Here's a list of things and everybody votes, which is definitely something you can do. Or, you could really key in on problems that you think your community has, or your person might have, lay them out and see what kind of votes you get, what's the top problem you have in your business, or it could be anything, honestly. So this first step is, again, that Facebook group. You have to have that Facebook group in mind. It can be yours or it can be someone else's. Now, I want to say this real quick because I think this is powerful, and in the context of leveraging other people's communities, you need to be super, super cognizant that those are not your communities and that someone else has spent a lot of time and energy cultivating and building that community. So if you are going to be in a position to where you want to be a part of that community and add value to that community, you have to do it very, very ethically. And, I would really encourage you, because I feel like polls are a step above just standard post, and they're a little bit more, they can be a lot more focused. And I think sometimes admins get a little sideways if people start doing a lot of polls in their group. So my suggestion to you would be, one, be active in that group. Two, if you're not quite sure, reach out to the admin and say, I have this poll I'd like to do. Are you okay with me posting it? It's always better to ask before you do something, because if you've spent time in that community, cultivating relationships and stuff, and you do something that, ticks off the admin and you get kicked out, then you have to start from scratch again, right? So, be cognizant of how you use these strategies. Be very focused on making sure that you're bringing value always in other people's communities. Now, if this is your Facebook group, not a problem. You can immediately create any of these posts very quickly, very easily. I always just like to share the differences as I see them between a group that you own and a group that someone else owns. So here's one I posted in my group, which would be step 2: post a question, a poll, a question, a scenario. And you can give options. And the nice thing about polls that I love is not only can you give options, your options, but you can also, the people in the group can add to your poll with things that you might not have thought of, which is also very value based. But the third step again is following up with everybody who responds with a direct message. And yes, I do have those scripts for you so that you don't have to start from a place of, oh my gosh, what do I say? Okay. So don't hesitate to download those. Download that workbook and grab that, because I think that, again, it's going to be super valuable for you. Go to kimgross.com/zero to sale. I told you I'd tell you about this a couple of times during today's training, and I am doing just that. Okay. So the fourth strategy I have for you is stats that stun. Again, another alliteration. The reason that you want to do a stat post, and the reason they work so well, is because they're scientific in nature, for lack of a better way of describing it, and people accept them as fact. And they're very powerful in the context of making a point or trying to drive attention to a problem. There's a lot of value, I think, if you have a stunning stat that you can share, that, again, one that either makes a point or highlights a problem. They can be really value-based for getting people to engage with you inside of Facebook groups. So step one, find that Facebook group, yours or someone else, and then post a stunning stat. Here's one that we just posted actually in my group. I've done an email around this as well. I don't know, a couple of weeks, I guess maybe it's even been a month ago. I found these stats through someone in my mastermind, and I just thought they were a stunning stat. So, there's when it comes to like understanding where most people are financially, if you follow any 100 people from the age of 20 to 65, now I want you to think about this, and if you are in this age bracket, most of us probably are, and this is going to, you're going to gasp, and it's going to hurt your heart a little bit. It did me. But after 45 years of work, 1% of people is going to be rich. 4% will be secure. 54% will still be working out of a necessity with a total net worth of 100K, including their home. 5% will be dead broke after either dependent on family, charity, or the government for 100% of their support. 36% will be dead, and the average 65-year-old has less money in the bank than the average 18-year-old. Wow, that was so crazy, ridiculously stunning to me. I'm like, so my point in sharing this was that even if it hits home, that doesn't have to be your reality. You can change that reality at any point. And, I'm asking people to book a call. Let's talk about it, right? Let's talk about how you can change this dynamic by taking what you know and selling it. That's my stick. Of course, yours could be totally different. But the point of it is that you take a stat that is stunning or makes a point or, whatever, and then you craft it in such a way that you have a call to action to whatever. You could have them, book a call or, do it. Again, it depends on your individual situations. So that's one suggestion. That's my fourth strategy for you. And then guess what? Oh, yes, you do. You need to follow up with anybody who engages with you. And there is a very specific script, again, that I recommend that you use to follow up with everybody. Obviously, to make this successful, it does no good. And I'm going to say this again, it does no good if you implement these strategies and you don't take the time to talk with people. Okay. So if you are just thinking, well, I'll just post this and I'll see what happens and I'll give them give them a freebie or, whatever, that'll be the answer to, whatever it is that they're looking for. If you're not committed to actually spending time and talking with people to create the sales in your business, then this is not going to work for you. Okay. So the follow up is going to be imperative in order for any of these strategies to work for you. But the best part about it is you can do all of this in a very short window of time. If you know how you're going to respond, setting up your post is the hardest part. And once you've done that, then all you have to do is make sure that you actually connect and have a follow-up system in place for the people who engage with you. Okay, so step one. Oh, I went backwards there. Apologize for that. So the last one is what I call the Stalker Search. Now, this is my favorite, and this is one of my, not just my favorite strategy, but it's very value-based for literally any type of business, but it's very value-based for service providers. So if you are a service provider, meaning you do Facebook ads for people, or you do your social media manager, or you do Google ads, or you create landing pages for people, or you're a graphic designer or a web designer, or whatever it is that you do. A real estate agent, even, you're a dentist. I mean, this works for literally any type of service provider. Well, it works for any type of business, in my opinion, but I think it's super powerful for service providers because there is conversations happening each and every day inside of Facebook groups where people are actively looking for you. They're actively looking for VAs. They're actively looking for graphic designers. They're actively looking for web designers. They're actively looking for a dentist. They're actively looking for a real estate agent. So those are opportunities that we, I think, are not capitalizing on. And so it's what I call a stalker search. So hence the giveaway today. um, this is a very powerful strategy. So let's talk about it. Oh, I went back the wrong way again. Sorry about that, guys. So the first thing again is a Facebook group. Find your Facebook group. That could be yours, or I would suggest that it's probably more than likely someone else's group in this particular instance, because you are, again, looking for people who are looking for you. Okay. So if you're a service provider, you're a real estate agent, you're a dentist, you're a graphic designer, VA, whatever you are, again, you're trying to find conversations where people are saying, I'm looking for a fill in the blank. Okay. So you find your group, and then you go to the search bar at the top of that group. And there's a little icon, and I've got it highlighted right here. Hopefully you can see it, where there's a little magnifying glass, and you're going to want to search the group that you're in for keywords or keyword phrases that are specific to what it is that you do. Okay. So let me give you an example of this. Like if you are a VA or a real estate agent or a dentist or a real estate, whatever your shtick is, whatever type of service provider you are, or if you have an outcome, like if you design, landing pages, you could type in landing pages. The point is, whatever your thing is, you're going to want to type it into the search bar, and you will find that there's all these posts will pop up based around that particular search term. So in this example, as you can see, I typed in VA. So anybody that's a virtual assistant, and who in this side of this group would be looking for a virtual assistant. Now, in this example that I gave, I just went into a business group, where I felt like there were entrepreneurs. It was a big group. There was like 60,000 people in this group. And I typed in VA, and all of these posts popped up for people looking for a VA. So if I'm a VA and I'm like, Mother load of leads. Oh my goodness. Look at this. This person says they want looking to hire a VA. This one's wanted a creative VA to join our marketing team. This one says we're looking for a virtual assistant. And some of these were like minutes old. Some of them were a couple of hours old. You can, and they're basically, they pull them up in date and timestamp order. So you can see the ones at the top are the newer, quote unquote leads. And then as you go down in the feed, sometimes they could be, a couple of weeks old or whatever. But in some cases, I was looking at it, and in some of those instances, depending on the type of service provider, there were some that nobody had ever responded to. So I'm like, oh my gosh, even though this lead is technically a couple of weeks old, the chances of this person still needing my services, if I'm a VA, could be very high. So I need to reach out to that person. Now, this is the key, and it's super powerful. It's super important that you understand how you do outreach and when you find leads like this in the social space. There's two options. Option one is respond to the post. In other words, reply underneath the post. But there's a right and wrong way to do this. And most people do it wrong. So if somebody is saying, hey, I need a VA, girl, go here, we got you. And they leave their web address. If I'm looking for somebody and I'm looking for a VA, I'm probably going to be like, yeah, no. I'm more inclined to look at somebody's post that sees what I'm saying, that understands what I'm looking for. So the other example, is more personal. It showcases again that you see them and opens a door to a conversation. So the second example is, I just love your energy and your website is absolutely beautiful, simple, and inspiring. So it shows me or tells me, if I'm the person looking for a VA, that they went and checked me out. They didn't just say, hey, here's my, go see my stuff and I'm your person. They're like, no, I'm looking at you. I see your stuff. And then it goes on to say, I would love to learn more about you and your business and how I can take some things off your plate. Us introverts need to stick together. So she not only is saying, hey, I took the time to take a peek at your business. It was amazing. But I'd like to know more. I'd like to know how I can step in and help you in some capacity. And then she added a personal touch, like, hey, I see you again because I'm an introvert and we have to stick together. So that's the type of response that you want to create. You don't want it to be all about you. In other words, you want to make sure that you show up in a way that is, that's relatable. That's a connection point for your person. So that's option one. Option two is not to even respond in the comments. If you really want to stand out, and this is my personal preference, then use a direct message to respond to them. But again, the key is not to come across salesy. You're trying to open the door to showing up in a value-based way. So go back to the example I just gave you, which was, showcase that you see them, that, you're interested in their business. You want to learn more. You want to know how you help them, how you can help them versus, hey, just buy from me. Okay. So this is a very, very, powerful way, because the best part about this strategy is they've already raised their hand and said they're looking for you. And that is incredibly value based. Like, if you're a service provider already, you know the gig, you know how hard it can be to try to find your client, your customer, and how hard it can sometimes be to convince them. So, if you can find them and engage with them and communicate with them and start to, open the door to a conversation, then the opportunity to sell them is so much higher, because they've already said they're looking for you. They're interested in finding you. So sorry, we take a quick sip here. So this can be a super, super powerful way to really connect with exactly your person. Now, so How do you follow up with these people? Exactly. I got scripts for you again. So don't hesitate to go to kimgross.com/zero to sale. I know I've harped on it a lot, but I want you to have the scripts so that you can take advantage of all of these strategies. So, just to kind of summarize them again, hang on just a sec. Let me pull these back up. Let me So the first strategy again was the tips, the 3-tip strategy. And that's again just sharing your expertise in a value-based way with a open-ended question at the end. The second one was the curious commitment. Again, just making sure that you are throwing something out there that will get them curious enough to comment is the end goal with that one. The poll party is using polls to, get, start conversations or showcase interest in something specific that is around your area of expertise. And the fourth one was stats that stun. Share something that is just incredibly stunning, that's going to grab attention. And then the stalker search is my last one. Now, all of these, every one of them requires the follow-up. Okay. So it's not just as simple as posting and, leaving it be, and hoping that, your PayPal or your Stripe starts dinging. It's not going to work like that. There's still a little bit of work involved in this, but it's not super labor intensive, and it is absolutely doable for everybody. Anyone can take advantage of this. Now, here's one other thing I want to say. I used to teach this strategy for years on Twitter. Twitter has a search feature, and I used to teach similar strategies for outreach and finding people, finding conversations that were happening in around, whatever it is that you do. Now, this is what I want you to understand. These conversations are happening everywhere, not just in Facebook groups. Hint, hint. I mean, you could go to Twitter and you could start searching for, hashtags around your area of expertise, looking for, VAs or looking for whatever. Find the conversations that are happening around whatever it is that you're doing on whatever social platform that could be LinkedIn for that matter. The point, though, that I really want to highlight is that conversations are happening whether you're a part of them or not. And if you're not a part of them, why are you not a part of them? You're missing golden opportunities there. And I would argue that these are way better opportunities for a sale in the social space than randomly posting things with, spaghetti, throwing stuff against the wall kind of thing and hoping something sticks. These are core strategies where you can actually find conversations that are happening around whatever it is that you do or whatever it is that you sell. And then you find a way to interject in a value-based way with your products, your services, etc. So I hope that you're like, oh my gosh, I can do this. And not only is it, like I said, not only is it just Facebook groups. Facebook groups are great for exactly this because they're in closed communities. They're easily searchable. They're again, so much functionality with just Facebook groups. But like I said, you can use these strategies in other ways as well. So, like I say, hopefully this has been super value-based to you. We're going to be sharing the winners for all of the giveaways, the 2 mugs today, which are the Stalker mugs. Sharing those winners in the comments. I want to close out with one quick thing real quick. Next week, we have a special guest coming on, my sweet friend, Mitch Jackson, who has dug in and is doing amazing things in the metaverse. Okay. So what the heck is the metaverse? Well, he's going to come on and talk to us about what it is, and more importantly, the opportunity that it might bring our way. There's so many new terms like NFTs and cryptocurrency and metaverse and all these things out there today, and there's still not a lot of knowledge around common knowledge, I would say, around some of these things. So my goal is to help educate you or bring guests on, because I don't know, I know like thimbleful of stuff around all these things, but my end goal is to bring amazing guests to you that will give you knowledge and an edge. And we're going to have him on next Monday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So be here if that is of interest to you. And I, as always, appreciate your time. Thank you guys so much for spending some time with me. I know it's one of your most valuable assets. So when you spend some with me, always appreciate you so much. So I hope you have a great week. Take care of yourselves, stay safe, and God bless.